Welcome to Wrestling with Goals to Conceive, Believe, and Achieve show. Ana Godinez, welcome to the show all the way from Hungary, Budapest, Hungary. Is that where you are currently?
Yes.
For those of you that don't know who Ana is, she is the 2024 Olympic representative for her weight class for Canada, and she is currently training, I believe, or just visiting.
Sorry?
Are you training or visiting
No,
Hungary?
no, I'm training. I'm competing and then training and then competing again.
Okay, well, let's talk about that. You just flew over to. We've had a really tough time getting a hold of each other and getting this set up, this interview. So thank you again, just for giving me some time so that we can chat. I want to get, like I said before, I want to get wrestling at a different level in Canada, and that's what this podcast is about. And you're about doing that too, because you are the face of Canada wrestling right now, because you will be representing Canada not only at the Olympics but currently now in Hungary, Budapest.
Yes.
Right. So tell me
Uh,
about this trip.
yeah. Thanks for having me. But yeah, we came here for the ranking series. It's gonna be pretty much my last big tournament before the Olympics. And then there's a camp right after here in Hungary. It's just a couple hours away. It's called Tata. And then from there, I'm gonna fly out to Italy and do another smaller tournament right before I go home and do my last big stretch.
Nice. So when did you leave for Hungary?
Uh, I'm getting all my days messed up because I'm like
Okay.
super. But I left Monday.
Okay. And who
For
did you
Monday.
bring with you?
Um, well, I have my coach, my physio. So my coach is Dave McKay, physio is Vic, and then my other teammate who's also going to the Olympics, Justina, and I have a couple other teammates here as well.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
she's the other one going to the Olympics as well.
Oh, nice. So a little bit of a pre-trip before the Olympics altogether, and yeah, a little bit of bonding experience there.
Yes, for sure.
Other than the grind of wrestling and the I guess the beatdowns that you're laying down right now, what are you doing in the country? Are you doing anything to take in the cities?
Well, I mean, the first 2 days that we were here, it's what day is it? It's Thursday today. But Tuesday we landed, and then Wednesday we kind of went around on the scooter. We got a pedicure. Right now I'm downtown Budapest, which is really nice. We came with the team, and they were actually at the cafe with me, and I'm like, I gotta do this. I'm gonna go in the corner and do the podcast. But after this, I'll go around, do a little, you know, tourist tour around, and then yeah, and then I'll go back to the hotel and relax and get physio. And we already trained this morning, so it's kind of like just chill for the rest of the day.
Nice. So not all business, which is great. You
Yeah,
mixed a little bit of pleasure with business, which is
yeah.
fantastic. I'd hate for you to be stressed out while you're in a new country. So tell me about what happened with what are your workouts leading up to this tournament? What are they like?
Well, they're tough, but I don't know. I feel like as I've been I've been wrestling for like 7 years now, and I started wrestling and being really tough on myself with like my workouts, my conditioning, my strength. Which honestly, I'm really glad I did that because I caught up. Not only did I catch up to like the strength and for everyone in internationally because I felt I was weak, but now I feel like I'm stronger and like faster than them. But now I can't do the same as I used to. I don't recover as fast, but I still do 3 days a week strength, and then I wrestle 4 to 5 times a week, and then I do at least one conditioning session a week. But after this trip, I'll switch to more conditioning, less strength training. So it's just kind of been blocked. We're just switching it up. Depends on what competition I have.
Hmm. Well, I want to. You touched on a little bit about your beginning of wrestling. I wanted to. Usually, when people come on the podcast, I want to talk to them about your beginnings. Where did it start for you? Who introduced it to you?
So I don't know if you know, maybe from like our story that's on the internet, but our sister Carla's she also wrestles on Team Canada. She unfortunately did not make the Olympic team, but she's very, very good at wrestling. She's world medalist. Um, but our oldest sister, she's an MMA fighter. She's in the UFC. Um, she was actually just doing jiu-jitsu back in the day and just kind of starting her MMA career. And she was like, she had a tournament downtown Vancouver. She's like, you guys should come watch. But at the same time, there was a wrestling tournament. And they were wearing like the singlet, and we are like, "What's that? Like, that's funny." But it seemed more exciting than jiu-jitsu. We had no idea what any of it was, but we liked watching wrestling more than we liked watching my sister's jiu-jitsu competition. And she's like, "Oh, that's wrestling. Like, if you have it at your school, you could try it." And at the time, I was playing rugby pretty seriously. I was like taking it seriously as a high school rugby player. And then we went back to school, and Carla and I were like, "Well, if you do it, I'll do it." The only problem was like the singlets. We weren't really big fan of the singlets, but we both tried it and really liked it. But at the same time, she was doing track and field. I was doing rugby, track and field, and wrestling. So we would just like alternate practices, do 2, 3 practices a day, like different sports. But for the most part, I did it to improve my tackles in rugby. And then there was just like a little switch in my head where it was like, I kind of like wrestling more than rugby. So we just started taking it more seriously after that.
Hmm. It's kind of funny because a lot of the wrestlers that I have been talking to, there is a background in other sports, but more so, especially with the female wrestlers,
Mm.
it's rugby.
Yeah.
There's some similarities in it. We'll talk about some of the similarities for some people that don't know, um, I guess, the sport.
So similarities between rugby and wrestling.
Yeah,
They're
besides the
both
ears.
contact sport. Um, I I mean, there's tackling in both of them. um, I don't know. I like the similarity that they're both contact sports, but I also really liked that wrestling only, like it's only one person, and it's like if you win or you lose, it's on you pretty much. I didn't like the aspect of relying on someone else for the rugby, the team sport aspect of things. I remember getting super mad when we lost, when it wasn't my fault. And I was like yelling at people. And I was like, you need to try harder, or like, I just like, I felt like I was more competitive at times than other people. But at least in wrestling, if someone else is not as competitive as you, it doesn't matter because it doesn't affect you.
Hmm. I'm listening to you talk about, you're getting angry that other people are pulling their weight. And, I remember talking to a guy by the name of Vern Gambetta. He was a strength trainer for the Chicago Bulls and the Kansas City Chiefs, the San Francisco 49ers. But one of the things he said about Michael Jordan is his mindset is that he would actually yell at his teammates when they weren't pulling their socks up, when they weren't pulling their weight.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm hearing the similarity, and we all know who Michael Jordan is, top of his game, the champion, the goat of basketball. Nobody can deny that. Well, one person probably thinks he is, but it's not. But we won't go into that one there. But yeah, I mean, you've got a championship attitude, it sounds, going in there, a competitive attitude. And I'm guessing the switch to wrestling was pretty easy because of the tackles.
Yeah, I mean that's all I did when I first started wrestling, and I was very physical. Like I didn't care about like I had no technique. The only thing I had was a tackle, which is not really a double leg. Like yeah, you tackle, but it's more technical than that. You don't just run at somebody like that. But that's all I did, and that's how I won my matches. And I feel like I was more athletic and just like mentally tough. Um, and I could just take a fight. That's just how I won like my first matches. But I feel like I got more serious into it when I lost my first match. I was like, there's no way. Because she was better than me. She was just better, and she was also tough. Um, but she had been wrestling for a lot longer than I had. I had been wrestling for like maybe 3 months, and I was being so hard on myself, and getting really mad that I was losing. And they were like, she's a 3-time provincial champ or something like that. I don't know. And I was like, I'm gonna train this whole year so I can beat her next year for provincials. But she quit wrestling, so I never got that. I never got that, but I did win provincials after that.
You, you had your sights on her and she just disappeared, ran away, right? Well, I mean, good for you. I mean, you stayed on target, and of course, you accomplished what you wanted to do. But that's unfortunate that your target ran away on you. That the goal setting sounds like it started at a young age. I'm assuming, has it continued?
Yeah, for sure. Every single time it's something new. Like, I remember my first university tournament. That's when I noticed I was weaker than everyone else. Like, as a high school girl, being stronger than all my high school opponents. Now I'm going into university. Wrestling. I was 17 when I went to university, and they were 20, 21, whatever. And I remember just feeling like so weak, like I was like manhandled, um, even though my technique had been so much better. Just like I had improved a lot, but I still lost, and I was like, I need to get stronger. I know I can beat this girl if I get stronger. So then, like, obviously, my goal now is to get stronger, and then it's now I'm slow. Now I need to work on my speed, and it's like little goals like that every time. And now it's like now I'm strong, I'm faster. Like my conditioning is a lot better. I've had matches where I get too tired, now I lose. Like that's never happened to me since. I remember it happened to me. I don't know. I was maybe like 18, and I lost because I was so tired. I just couldn't move anymore. When your legs feel like concrete and you can't move. That's what happened to me, and I lost to that same girl that I lost to before because I was too weak. But now I was stronger, but I wasn't as conditioned, and I was like, I can never lose again because I'm too tired. That is, to me, that is the most embarrassing thing as an athlete. I get sometimes you're not going to be the fittest you've ever been because maybe you had an injury, like you can't fully do conditioning or like do your sport, whatever. But now it's like it's almost like giving up. I feel like you can be tired, but still push yourself in a match. Um, but yeah, that's never happening again.
Hmm. It sounds like there's some self-reflection going on with your athletic experience there.
Yes, yes. Every time, every tournament, or even just at practice, there's some sort of reflection because I mean that's how you improve, right?
Yeah, you seem like you're really breaking down what you're doing. Is that something that comes natural? Is it something that you learn through reading or through coaching? Or
Um, no, I think I've had that from a young age. I think it just came naturally, but I think I've gotten better at it as I've had more experience in the sport, and I feel like I've always been hard on myself to improve. Um, So I feel like whenever I fail at something, I look back at ways to improve. I don't know. I think it just comes naturally, yeah. But the experience and the coaching and I think everything has helped along the way as well to get better at not being so hard on myself, I think. I think like that's the other thing. Like I can't be too hard on myself because of everything I've accomplished in just like 7 years of wrestling.
and how do you make sure that you're not hard on yourself? I'm assuming you were at one point, and you kind of,
Yeah. Well, I feel like I don't know when it switched, but I feel like when I first started getting really serious into wrestling, I told myself like I need to win. I need to win the Olympics. Like it's do or die, which is okay. I feel like I needed it to really like push myself through everything I did just to win. Uh, but now, if it got to the point where like I got to a tournament and I'm thinking I need to win the tournament or else. Like, or else what's gonna happen? Your parents are not gonna love you. Like, someone's gonna hurt you. You're not gonna eat tonight. Like, that's not true, right? But once I got that out of my mind and was like, well, if I don't win, everything's still gonna be fine, and I'm still gonna look into how to improve that, right? And I felt once I kind of let go of the result, I started wrestling better. I had a year where I lost more than I won, and that was when I feel like I put a lot of pressure on winning rather than like just improving in every position, and just like wrestling through the match rather than thinking about the score and winning.
yeah. I'm listening to you talk, and you're focusing not on the end result. You're not focusing, and this is something I tell our kids in my wrestling room. I coach young kids, but I don't focus on gold medals. For me as a coach, gold medals and medals, they don't really mean anything to me. It's the effort that you put into it. It's the effort and
Mhm.
attitude. I'm looking at the performance. I'm looking at the performance in practice. I'm looking at the performance on the mat. You could
Yeah.
place sixth at a tournament and have a really great performance, and I'm going to be proud of you. You can
Mhm.
win a national championship and just squeak by and have a piss poor, performance. And I'm still going to go. You know what? Listen, I'm not exactly happy with that. Let's look at what you did. So focusing on the end results, I think scares off people too. I think, like you said, there seemed to be some sort of mental barrier for you, and once you released it, now your wrestling
Mhm.
is kind of progressed,
Yeah.
um, which is great to hear. I think a lot of young kids focus on what you just talked about, is focusing on that, the medals, the losses, and you won't grow if you focus on those things. You just can't, because you're focused on things that aren't going to make you better. You have to focus on the controllables,
Yeah.
not the uncontrollables.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a huge thing that I just talked with my sisters about it because we're all high perform. Sorry, we're all high performance athletes. Um, Sometimes we get caught up in winning, and when we lose, we all get sad. Like it's not. I don't know. It's really hard to explain to someone who's in that mindset where they are like, this is like I have to win this or else, right? It's really hard to get them out of that mindset. But once they like, it's almost like letting go. I was just talking to a friend about this. Like letting go of what people think is like it's like you were carrying like a backpack full of rocks, and then when you stop caring about what people think, and caring about the end result, it's like you take off that backpack and you feel free. And it's like you feel free to wrestle and just like have fun, like how you started when you first started wrestling. It wasn't like about winning. It was about literally surviving the match because you don't know how to wrestle. So, but it's fun. Like after you're like, oh, that was so fun. Like I want to do it again. So every time I go back to when I first started wrestling, and I'm like, why did I start wrestling? Because I thought it was fun. So I want it to be fun now, even though it's more like professional.
And how have you made it fun?
Sorry.
And how have you made it fun?
I made it fun by not focusing on winning.
Ah,
Yeah.
yeah, because that can really, really, uh, I guess, hamper your goal setting and stuff like that, because you get mentally tied up. If you had any help with your mindset, changing your mindset over the years, is it maybe help from your family, your sisters, given their
Um,
pedigree, or just maybe a professional?
No, honestly, I haven't. I don't know what happened. I think it's just the experiences I've had and like just talking to a lot of people that struggle with competing, like anxiety and like all these things. And I've realized like maybe I just let go of it or something because I've heard of people, getting really anxious right before they compete. And to those people, I say, I don't care, right? Like, for a big example is qualifying for the Olympics. Like, it's so stressful, hardest lead up. I actually got concussed 3 weeks before the qualifiers, or maybe 4 weeks, and I couldn't wrestle for a solid 20 days. Like, I couldn't move, I couldn't do anything. And at that point, I'm like, like, there's nothing I can do. I'm doing everything I can. I've done everything I can for the last, 7 years. If it doesn't happen, it's not meant to be. And like, just letting go of that, just like, felt so nice. And then even at the tournament, like, you can feel the energy and how much people care. And obviously, it meant the world to me. Like, you could see, like, when I win, I burst out into tears. It's just a lot of stress, but it's like, it's not the end of the world if you don't make it. But I don't know where I got my mindset from. I can tell you.
Well, I mean, some people come by it naturally. They're a competitive edge, and they figure things out, through self-reflection, like you've done, which is great.
Mhm.
People need, and that's what I talk to a few people, football players and stuff like that. There's a couple books out there. There's a guy by the name of Greg Harden, who is a sports psychologist. That's what I was kind of thinking on, because people, they can do it naturally, but some people do need help in that way. And I know sometimes I talked to some other wrestlers where they have, I think it was the University of Alberta, it was Owen Dawkins that had a reflection time built within his training system. Anything like that done with Dave McKay and your group?
I mean, Dave always talks to me. I mean, since I first started working with him, he always tries to open up my mind to that. And I think in the beginning, he kind of gave me like the chance to give him a phrase, like, what is the phrase that makes you feel like good about yourself or like free or something. And I honestly don't remember what I said, um, but I remember what Carla said, my sister. I'm probably not allowed to say it on the podcast.
Well, I'm the one that edits it, so
Okay, okay. um, Hers was fuck it.
yep.
And I feel like her phrase stuck for me,
Mhm.
um, because I don't know, in it just like it just kind of like releases all the stress, like, not everyone gets the chance to be in the position that we're in and like do the sport that we love for a living and travel all over the world and meet all these new people and compete for your country and all this. It's a privilege, right? It's not like, I don't know, I feel like people have really hard lives and I can't believe we get this one, right? It's something we shouldn't be like stressed about or like worried about or anxious about because it's a privilege.
Mm. But you earned that privilege too.
Sorry?
You earned that privilege too.
Yes, yes, for sure.
Yeah, I mean that's a lot of hard work that you've put into it. 7 years of
Yes,
wrestling.
yes.
For those of the kids that are listening to this, 7 years and then becoming an Olympian, that's pretty cool for them. They can start setting their sights on that kind of, well, especially, well, you may have to be a rugby player first, right?
I actually didn't think I could win provincials when, like, the next year after. I was like, if I win provincials next year, that's it. Like, this is awesome. I like I couldn't imagine myself winning provincials, but my first coach, Frank Mensa, he was like, "You stick with wrestling, you'll win provincials and national." And I'm like, "What?" And I did both.
Yeah.
So yeah, so he just saw the potential in me, I guess, right? And he helped me a lot.
Nice. You talked about Frank Mensa. That was your first coach?
Yeah, so I had my very first high school coach. His name is Tom Willman. He's the one that introduced me to wrestling. Not a lot of people joined the team or anything, but that was like my very first coach in high school. And then my very first club coach was Frank Mensa. Um, it was actually very nice. He took us, Carla and I, in. We had no money to pay him, nothing. We just had like our hard work. We told him like we just work hard, just take us in, right? And he took us in, and he was like, you work hard and you're going to win provincials and you're going to win nationals and you're going to make world teams and you can go to the Olympics, like you can win the Olympics. And I'm like, I'm just trying to win provincials. I'm just trying to beat this girl. But yeah, I mean, he's still a really good coach. He has a really good team right now that I actually go and work with some of the kids there still. So
Okay, so getting onto that, where are you training currently when you're not in Budapest?
I train up at SFU, Simon Fraser University in Burnaby. Um, yeah, that's kind of like our location. It's me, Carla, my sister, Justina, who's on the Olympic team, um, Nishan, and a bunch of others. But those are like the senior athletes that are on the national team.
And
And
is
then
that
there's more U23s and stuff like that.
okay? And sorry, did you attend school at FSU?
I went to UFV, University of Fraser Valley,
Okay.
for 2 years, and then I transferred to SFU for a year. Um, but then I just got so busy with wrestling. That was the first year I made the national team for junior and senior, so I was away for the whole time pretty much. Um, so yeah, I stopped doing school after 2020. Like once COVID hit, I did like a semester. Then I stopped after COVID or so, like during COVID, kind of like that. I was not doing well online school, and then I just haven't gone back since. Been so busy, but I am thinking about going back.
Yeah, well, I mean, COVID did a lot to us, and I think that was, it did slow everybody down in just about any aspect of their life because the shutdowns. I talked with an athlete yesterday about how it affected their training, how it affected their academics as well. How did it affect your training?
um, well, honestly, it affected my competing. My training, thankfully, I have two sisters that are also, elite athletes. So we actually built a gym in our basement. We lived in a basement. We had a squat rack in our living room and then a squat rack outside. And then we would go to our parents' house, and a friend by there had mats, so then we would go to the mats, and those were the only people that we would interact with, like to train. Um, and then that was it. That was all we did for the whole COVID everything. We just trained with each other. It was awesome.
Yeah, bubble training, right? That's that's what we were forced to do. Great that you had sisters to beat on you and you to beat on them.
Yeah.
That was my upbringing when I was a kid. I had an older brother that wrestled, and that's why I got into it. So very similar to your story. Um,
Mm.
and then my older brother would beat the crap out of me. He actually became an MMA fighter, not to the extent of your sister, but yeah, he got up there and started doing that. And then I had a knee injury, and he got out of that. Um, when I was searching for Olympians and stuff like that on Instagram, trying to get contact information, I ran into your bio and I think maybe your sister's. I'm not sure, but in your Instagram, and I'm not sure if it's you or your sister that I saw it on, but a lot of weight training. Okay, was that yours?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I want to say, man, I was impressed. I was watching because that's what I do now. I love power cleans. I love hang cleans. After I retired from the sport, I had to find something to get into. I got into Brazilian jiu-jitsu,
Mm.
but I also wanted to lift. And you talked already a little bit about the lifting and how it played an integral part of your career. Without it, you said you were below some of your competitors. Do you hate training with weights, or do you look forward to it?
I love lifting. I feel like I love learning like new sports or like anything new. So when I started learning how to lift, I loved it. Honestly, I would spend like 3 hours at the gym just like learning how to power clean, and this is why I'm so good at it now. And at the time, I was like, well, if I don't like wrestling, like I can do lifting because I was just like, I just loved it. So that's the other thing I was doing during COVID. I was lifting a lot more. I actually did provincials, I think it was, or like the nationals. I don't know, online because it was like COVID. But I did it online, and I think I got second. So that was really good. I did like the snatch and the clean and jerk.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, I don't know. I think no, I love it. I love lifting.